I never believed in online dating. But last year, a week before Valentine's Day, I gave in. I had been single for almost 2 years. My friends kept telling me I needed to move on, so I downloaded a dating app and matched with someone named Daniel. His profile was simple: clean-cut photo, warm smile. He said he worked in cybersecurity. He liked hiking, coffee, and quiet nights in. Nothing unusual. He started messaging me immediately, not in a desperate way. Calm, polite. He remembered small details I mentioned. My favorite author, the cafe I liked, even the fact that I hated roses because they reminded me of funerals. That should have been the first red flag. But at the time, it felt sweet. We talked for 5 days straight. Morning texts, goodnight calls. We agreed to meet at a small Italian restaurant downtown. Public place. The morning of Valentine's Day, I woke up to a message from him. Wear something blue tonight. You look beautiful in blue. I froze. I had never sent him a picture wearing blue before. In fact, the only blue dress I owned wasn't posted anywhere online. I told myself maybe I had mentioned it, or maybe he guessed, but something about that message stayed in my chest all day like a stone. By afternoon, strange things began happening. I received a notification that someone tried to log into my email. Then another notification from my social media account. Different location. I changed my passwords immediately. Then Daniel texted. Everything okay? I hadn't told him anything. I stared at the screen. How do you know something's wrong? I typed. A few seconds passed. I told myself I was being paranoid. By 7 p.m., I was dressed and heading to the restaurant. The entire drive there, I had this strange sensation, like someone was watching me. At a red light, I checked my rearview mirror. A dark SUV sat 2 cars behind me. When the light turned green, it stayed behind me. Every turn I made, it followed. My heart began pounding. But when I pulled into the restaurant parking lot, the SUV drove past without stopping. I felt stupid for even noticing. Inside, Daniel was already seated. He stood up when he saw me. He looked exactly like his photos. You are blue, he said softly. A chill cold ran down my spine as I forced a smile. Dinner started normally. He was charming, attentive, almost too perfect. Then he began saying things he didn't know. You changed your email password today, he said casually, sipping his wine. I almost dropped my glass. What? You seem tense, he corrected quickly, but I knew what I heard. I excused myself to the restroom and locked myself in a stall. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo message. It was me, sitting at the restaurant, taken from behind. My hands started shaking so badly, I nearly dropped my phone. Another message came in. He's watching you. I couldn't breathe. I slowly stepped out of the restroom and looked around the restaurant. There were couples everywhere, laughter, music, waiters moving between tables. But near the window, outside, I saw it. The same dark SUV, parked across the street, engine running. I rushed back to the table. Daniel was smiling. You look scared, he said. Is everything okay? Are you expecting someone, I asked. What do you mean, he replied. My picture was just taken. His expression didn't change. That's impossible, he said. He reached for my hand. His touch was cold. Relax, he said. You're safe with me. That was the moment I knew I wasn't. I stood up immediately. I need air, I said. He grabbed my wrist gently. You shouldn't go outside alone. I pulled free. Outside, the cold air hit my lungs hard. I walked quickly toward my car, but stopped when I saw the SUV door open. A man stepped out, black jacket, hood up, face partially covered. He held something in his hand, a camera. He lifted it and pointed it directly at me. I couldn't move. Then my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Don't run, a distorted voice said. We just want to see how far he'll go to protect you. My blood ran cold. The line went dead. Suddenly, Daniel burst out of the restaurant. He ran toward me. The man by the SUV quickly got back inside and drove away fast. Daniel grabbed my shoulders. Are you hurt? I stared at him and said, So you knew. You knew someone was watching me. He hesitated. That hesitation was everything I needed to know. Finally, he sighed and said, I thought it was handled. Handled? My voice broke. He looked around nervously and said, I used to work private security. I exposed some people. They've been monitoring me for months. I didn't think they'd involve you. My heart pounded so loudly, I could barely hear him. I asked. That's when another car pulled into the lot. Police. 2 officers stepped out. Apparently someone inside the restaurant had called them after seeing the confrontation outside. The officers separated us. One of them asked if I knew Daniel well. They ran his name. It wasn't Daniel. It was something else entirely. He had changed it legally 3 years ago, for safety reasons. The police questioned him about the SUV. He claimed he had a stalker. But when they checked the license plate number I had memorized, it came back registered to a shell company. A company that Daniels himself had once been associated with. That's when everything collapsed. He wasn't being monitored. He was running a test. He had been studying my routine since the first day we matched. The login attempts was him. The blue dress Comet was also him. SUV was his partner. They staged the entire night to see how I would react under fear. He had done it before. The police later told me he had a history of manipulating women online. Not physically harming them, but psychologically breaking them, recording their fear. Valentine's Day was perfect for him, because no one expects danger on a romantic night. He chose women who were single, isolated, emotionally vulnerable. He monitored their devices before meeting. He liked to know everything. He liked power, and I was almost another recording in his collection. The police arrested him that night for cybercrimes and identity fraud. During the investigation, they searched his devices. They found folders, dates, names, videos, but there was one folder that investigators couldn't open. They traced its activity. It wasn't created by him. It was uploaded remotely, from somewhere else. Someone else had access to his system. Someone else had been watching both of us. The police never found out who. They told me it might be unrelated, but I know what I heard on that phone that says, "We just want to see how far he'll go." We, not him, not Daniel. We. Up till this day, I don't know who the voice belonged to. I don't know who had access to his computer. And I don't know if that night was really about testing me, or if Daniel himself was being tested. I matched with him 3 weeks before Valentine's Day. His name was Marcus. At least, that's what he told me. His profile said he was a travel photographer. His photos were beautiful. Mountains at sunrise, empty highways, rain on city streets. He had the kind of page that felt artistic, but not fake. He messaged me first. Not a pickup line, not a compliment. He asked me if I believed people could feel when they were being watched. I thought it was an odd question. I told him sometimes I did. He replied, "Good. That means your instincts work." I should have stopped talking to him then. But I didn't. We spoke every night after that. He was calm, thoughtful. He remembered everything I said. My work schedule, my gym days. Even the time I mentioned I usually grocery shop late to avoid crowds. One night he said something strange. "You shouldn't park in the far corner of the lot." I felt my chest tighten. "How do you know where I park?" I asked. There was a long pause before he answered. "Most people do." I told myself that made sense. Still, the next evening when I went grocery shopping, I noticed a car parked 2 rows away from mine. Lights off, engine running. I stayed inside the store longer than usual. When I came back out, the car was gone. Marcus asked me later that night how my shopping trip went. I didn't tell him anything about the car, but he said, "Parking closer feels safer." That's when the unease started settling into my bones. He asked me to meet him on Valentine's Day. "I'll be in your city for work," he said. We had never video called. Every time I suggested it, he had an excuse. Bad connection, traveling, camera broken. I ignored the red flags. I didn't want to spend another Valentine's Day alone. We agreed to meet at a rooftop bar downtown. Busy and very romantic. The morning of February 14th, I woke up to a notification. Someone had accessed my fitness tracking app overnight. I opened it. There were location pings. Precise ones. My apartment. my gym, and my office. I felt cold. I changed the password immediately. Then I got a message from Marcus saying, "Big night tonight." I typed back slowly, "Yeah." He replied with a smile emoji, and then said, "Don't take the elevator. The stairs have a better view." I stared at the screen. The rooftop bar we were meeting at had both an elevator and a stair access. I had never told him that. At 7 p.m. I arrived. The bar was glowing with string lights, couples everywhere, the city skyline behind it all. I texted him, "I'm here." He responded, "Turn around." I did. He was standing by the railing. He looked like his photos. Tall, sharp features, calm eyes. But something about his expression felt rehearsed, like he had practiced it. "You came alone?" he asked quietly. "Yes." He nodded slowly. "Good." We ordered drinks. He kept scanning the crowd, not nervously, intentionally, like he was checking something. I asked him about his photography jobs. He answered vaguely. Then he asked me something that froze my blood. "Do you ever close your blinds at night?" My heart began pounding. "Sometimes," I said. "You should always," he replied softly. "I live on the 4th floor. Across from me is another apartment building." My hands started shaking. I asked. He smiled slightly and said, "I travel a lot." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo message. It was me, standing on the rooftop. Taken from above. I looked up immediately. Nothing but the dark sky. Then another message saying, "You're exactly where we need you." My stomach dropped. I stood up. Marcus grabbed my wrist under the table. "Sit down," he whispered. His voice had changed. No warmth, just control. "Who is we?" I asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned closer and said, "You shouldn't have installed that fitness app," he said calmly. "It made everything easy." The world around me felt distant. "You were selected." Those words echoed in my head. "Selected for what?" I asked. He finally released my wrist. To see how predictable people really are. I didn't understand. Then my phone buzzed again. A live video request from an unknown caller. I declined it. It rang again immediately. I answered. The screen showed a live drone camera feed, hovering above the rooftop, pointed directly at me. I looked up, and there it was, a small drone, barely noticeable against the dark sky. My entire body went cold. Marcus leaned back in his chair and said, "They're watching your reactions," he said quietly. "Your breathing, your eye movement, how you handle fear." "Who is they?" I asked. For the first time I saw uncertainty in his face. He explained in pieces. He had been contacted months ago by an anonymous online group. They paid him to build relationships with specific women. Women who lived alone. Women with predictable routines. Women who shared enough online to be mapped. He was given access to software. It allowed him to monitor selected targets, even some cameras. "They said it was research," he said. "Research for what?" I asked. He shook his head slightly. "They never told me." I realized something terrifying. He wasn't in control. He was being paid, but someone else was directing everything. Suddenly his phone buzzed. He looked at it. His face went pale. "What?" I demanded. "They want you to leave with me," he said. "And if I don't?" I asked. He looked toward the drone. At that moment, survival instinct took over. I stood up fast and grabbed the nearest waitress. "Call the police," I said loudly. Marcus tried to grab my arm again, but I pulled away and knocked his drink over the table. People turned to look. The drone shifted position above us. The waitress saw my shaking hands and immediately called security. Marcus stepped back. His calm mask was cracking. "Worse," he said. Police arrived within minutes. As soon as they did, the drone shot upward and disappeared into the night. Marcus tried to leave. They stopped him. They checked his phone. Encrypted messaging apps. Payment transfers from untraceable cryptocurrency accounts. but the accounts led nowhere. No names, no clear organization, just usernames and temporary servers. He was arrested for cyberstalking and unlawful surveillance. They searched his hotel room. Inside, they found equipment, signal boosters, portable monitors, a second phone that had been remotely wiped the moment police detained him. Marcus went to prison, but the group was never identified. 3 months later, I received a package. No return address. Inside was a printed photograph of me inside, standing on that rooftop, looking up at the drone. On the back, one sentence was written saying, "You just got lucky that night." No signature. No explanation. I met her on a dating app called True Match. Her name was Eliza. She sent the first message that says, "Do you believe in second chances?" I didn't know what she meant. I asked her. She replied and said, "For love." It felt dramatic, mysterious, but I had just ended a long relationship months before, and something about the way she wrote made me feel understood. We started talking every day, attentive and almost too attentive. She remembered everything. The exact time I left for work, the route I usually drove, the small cafe I stopped at every Wednesday morning. I assumed I had mentioned those things casually in conversation. That's what scared me later. The way she slowly collected details without me noticing. We never video called. She said she didn't like cameras. She said she valued privacy. Ironically, that made me trust her more. She suggested we meet for the first time on Valentine's Day. "There's a place I love," she said. "It's quiet, private, and very romantic." She sent me the address. It wasn't a restaurant. It was a countryside inn, about 30 minutes outside the city. I hesitated, but she sent photos. Candles, fireplace, wooden beams, and soft lighting. It looked beautiful. She said she already made a reservation. "It's under your name," she told me. That sentence felt intimate at the time. Now I understand it was a warning. The week leading up to Valentine's Day, strange things began happening. My phone battery started draining unusually fast. My laptop camera light blinked once while I was working. I convinced myself it was a glitch. Then one night I received a food delivery I never ordered. It had my full name printed on the receipt, and underneath it was a message that says, "Looking forward to the 14th. No sender, no restaurant name." I texted Eliza about it. She replied with a laughing emoji. "Maybe someone has a crush on you." Her response felt off. Valentine's Day arrived. I drove to the countryside inn just before sunset. The road became narrow as I approached. No other cars, no houses nearby, just trees. When I finally reached the inn, it looked exactly like the photos. Warm light glowing through the windows. But the parking lot was empty. I checked my phone. No signal. That was the first moment I considered turning around. She looked exactly like her pictures. She hugged me gently. "You made it," she said. Her voice was even softer in person. Inside the inn was quiet. No other guests. Just candles and soft music playing somewhere in the background. "Where is everyone?" I asked. She smiled. "I rented it privately for the night." That should have terrified me, but it sounded romantic. She led me to a dining table set for two near the fireplace. Dinner was already prepared. Wine poured. Everything perfect. Almost staged. We talked for a while. Then she asked me a question. Very specific ones. "Do you live alone?" I said yes. "Do your building have security cameras?" "I think so." "What floor are you on again?" I said the third floor. She nodded slowly, like she was confirming information. Halfway through dinner, I noticed something strange. A small red dot in the corner of the room, near the ceiling, blinking. I stood up casually and walked closer. It was a camera. My heart started racing. "Eliza," I said carefully, "what is that?" She didn't look surprised. "Oh," she said calmly, "that's part of the property's security system." I scanned the room. There was another one, hidden between wooden beams. near the bookshelf. I counted at least 6 cameras there. That's when I realized something. The fireplace wasn't warm, the food wasn't hot. Nothing in that room felt used. It felt prepared. I stepped back from the table. "You rented this whole place?" I asked. She stood slowly. Her calm expression never changed. "Yes." "Why are there so many cameras?" She took a breath. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "Because this is where it ends." I turned toward the door immediately. Locked. I rushed to my phone. No signal. She didn't try to stop me. She just watched, like she was waiting. "For what?" I demanded. She tilted her head slightly. "For you to understand." Large television screen on the wall turned on. I hadn't noticed it before. It showed a live feed. My apartment building entrance. Then another camera angle. The hallway outside my apartment. Then inside my apartment. My bedroom and my kitchen. I felt dizzy. "That's impossible," I said. She looked at me carefully. "You gave me access without knowing," she said softly. The screen switched again. Now it was showing me, inside the inn, multiple angles, zooming slowly. "They've been studying behavioral patterns for months," she continued. "They?" I asked. She hesitated. That hesitation told me she wasn't in full control. "I was recruited," she admitted quietly. "I thought it was a research study. Relationship dynamics under stress." "You lured me here," I said. Her voice trembled slightly for the first time. "I didn't know it would go this far." The screen went dead. Then words appeared across it. The lights in the inn shut off. Complete darkness. I heard a mechanical click somewhere behind me. A door opening. Heavy footsteps. Not hers. Someone else was inside. That's when survival instinct took over. I grabbed a chair and smashed it against the nearest window. The glass cracked but didn't shatter. The footsteps grew closer. Eliza stepped in front of me suddenly. "You have to listen to me," she whispered urgently. "They want to see if you'll fight or freeze." "Who are they?" I shouted. "I don't know their real names," she said. "I only communicated through encrypted messages. And they told me what to say to you." The footsteps stopped just outside the dining room. A shadow appeared in the hallway. I ran toward the back of the building. Kitchen area, storage room. I found a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. I grabbed it and swung it in the back window repeatedly until the glass shattered enough to crawl through. I cut my arm climbing out. Cold air hit my face. I ran into the trees. Behind me, I heard shouting. Not just one voice, multiple. They hadn't expected me to escape that way. I kept running until I reached the main road. A passing truck driver saw me waving and stopped. He called the police immediately. When authorities arrived at the inn, it was empty, completely abandoned. No furniture, no candles, no dining table, and no cameras, as if no one had been there for years. Until they checked traffic cameras and saw me running from the property. They found my blood on broken glass behind the building. But inside, nothing. Eliza was never found. Her dating profile disappeared within hours. The payment accounts tied to her messages were erased. And I don't know how an abandoned building was turned into a fully staged trap without leaving evidence. After that incident, every Valentine's Day date felt like a trap to me.